Good morning, everyone. I am Marivic G. Fortuna reporting my assigned topic about contemporary prose in Spanish. What is prose? Prose is often defined as straightforward rather than poetic writing. So when we say prose, it is irregularity. It does not follow any structure or any rhythm, unlike poetry. So prose do not have syllables or rhymes to follow. It only needs clear language and correct grammar that can easily understood. So in Spanish, prose is a Filipino writing in which flourished during the early American regime was, for the most part, the prose of nationalism and reason. During the early American regime, Filipino writers went into all forms of literature like news reporting, poetry, stories, plays, essays, and novels. Their writings clearly depicted their love of country and their longings for independence. It was prose dominated by public officials, scholars, biographers, journalists, and fiction writers, and enriched with criticism of morals, manners, and men. Later, it was augmented by glowing accounts of travel abroad and observations on life in other countries. So, like most nationalistic prose, it was rich in self-expression and in political and cultural evaluation. So now, let's get to know more the important writers in Spanish period that give so much contributions during the Spanish period. First is Dr. Trinidad H. Pardo de Tavera. So he is also known by his name T.H. Pardo de Tavera. He was known for his writings about different aspects of Philippine literature. He was the one who recommended the establishment of the first government medical school in the country. Next is Dr. Rafael Palma. He was a Filipino politician, Rizalian writer, educator, and a famous Freemason. He was a senator from 1916 to 1921 and was the fourth president of the University of the Philippines. Next, Fernando Maria Guerrero, a Spanish-Filipino poet, journalist, lawyer, politician, and polyglot, who became a significant figure during the Philippines' golden period of Spanish literature. Fourth is Epifanio de los Santos. He is a nationalist, writer and scholar, lawyer, researcher, musician, politician, and painter. He was born in Malabon, Rizal, now a city of Metro Manila. Fifth is Teodoro M. Calao. Calao was one of the country's most understanding trilingual writers and historians who specialized in the collection of original documents which become the basis of his writings. Next is Jesus Balmori. He was a renowned Filipino poet and journalist in the Spanish language. His column Vida Manileña was written in verse and appeared in the Spanish newspaper La Vanguardia under the pen name Batikuling. He won the Commonwealth Literary Awards in 1940 for his poetry collection entitled Mi Casa di Nipa. So, getting to know more of Trinidad H. Pardo de Tavera, Trinidad Hermenegildo Pardo de Tavera y Guricho was born on April 13, 1857 and died on March 25, 1925. He was a physician, member of the Philippine Commission and founder of the Federal Party. He was also a consummate scholar as well as bibliophile and bibliographer. He was considered a man of vast learning and probably the most versatile of the Filipino writers of his time. The work of Pardo de Tavera were quite voluminous. As a historian, he had to credit the following: Reseña Histórica de Filipinas desde su descubrimiento hasta 1903, Las costumbres de los Tagalos de Filipinas, el sánscrito en La Lengua Tagalog, El Mapa de Filipinas del P. Morello Villarde, and Consideraciones sobre el origen del nombre de los números en Tagalog. He likewise edited and published Una Memoria de Anda y Salazar. Pardo de Tavera's distinguished essays are The Heritage of Ignorance, The Filipino Soul, The Character of Rizal, and The Conservation of the National Type. So these serious essays are originally written in Spanish, gained for him wide acclaim and respect throughout the islands. One of his distinguished essays was The Character of Rizal. It is an excerpt that talks literally about the character of Rizal, his desire to know the truth, whether the white man was really superior to the Indio or Filipinos, and in order to attain his object, he used the true method of science, which is observation. His ideas on education. He was a poet, no doubt not an empty dreamer, but a deep thinker. This made it possible for him to write, at 15 years of age, a composition entitled Por la Educación. In education, he discovers the real. At the age of 15, he wrote his poem to the youth of the Philippines with the motto, Grow Timid Flower by a Native, where the native is Rizal himself and the timid flower is the same youth in the Philippines he calls beautiful hope of the fatherland. Another important writer in Spanish period is Dr. Rafael Palma. Dr. Rafael Palma is a native of Tondo, Manila. He was a writer in Spanish of inestimable value, a lawyer and high public official. He was one-time president of the University of the Philippines. Palma, as a literary man, was one of the editors of Independencia or La Independencia, El Nuevo Dia, and El Renacimiento. He was the author of Voces de Aliento, Nuestra Campaña por la Independencia, Desde Taft hasta Harrison, Alma Mater, and Apolinario Mabini, or Estudio Biográfico. A few years before his death, Palma received a Commonwealth Literary Award for his Biografía de Rizal. Because of its literary and factual merits, this biography was translated into English by former Justice Roman Ozaita under the title Pride of the Malay Race and published Prentice Hall in Couture in the United States in 1949. Palma's literary talent and felicity as a writer can be easily gleaned by reading Voces de Aliento and Alma Mater. So, Palma's works. Among Palma's separately published works are New Mentality, Our Age, Our Country, Our History, The Revolt of Youth, The University and the People, Hero Worship, Rizal, The Man and the Woman and the Right to Vote. So, one of Dr. Rafael Palma's published work is The New Mentality. Educating youth today demands a change in principle and methods in the same way that science and industry have sought new bypaths in their developments. We cannot educate the youth of today under the tenets and doctrines bequeathed to us by our ancestors. They represented an epoch and world entirely different from ours. The world of our forefathers is no longer the world of today. To feed our youth with the aggregate of the theories and beliefs which have already lost their usefulness with the march of ages would be to commit a gross mistake. We cannot give to an adult only the amount of food we give an infant without imperiling his health. New Mentality talks about the difference of the youth of today and yesterday. There's so much things change also because of the modern technology that invented. After all, it should be taught that the ground beneath our feet is the ashes of our ancestors. So those are some of the important writers in Spanish period as well as their works. There are many struggles they encountered before, yet, in spite of the obstacles to historical research and writing, those pioneers in the Philippine historiography deserve to be remembered because they produce historical works.